Rev up your engine. Okay, I got an interesting car today. It's a 2008 Lexus IS F. A lot of people whine, oh, they're not fast enough, oh, they're not. For what it is, it's probably the best car in the world. Now, sports car guys whine all the time. Oh, it's not a real sports car, la, 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 la. Hey, it really is. It's got V8 engine, rear wheel drive. The main thing that I got against these cars is they were too expensive when they were new. And the owner of this agrees. A new one was 61,000 bucks. He paid 29 for this thing. So he paid like half. It came from Canada, because you could see it was imported in Canada, and it's in kilometers instead of miles since it was sold in Canada. Now they make some Lexuses in Canada, but this one was made in Japan, which of course is what you really want. Serious people making serious cars. As you look under the hood, you see the big old 5-liter V8. And he's a man like me. He took the beauty cover off so you could see what's actually under here. Now, yeah, it's complex. It's an F. But it's not turbocharged, so you don't have the wear and tear of a turbo. And as time has shown, this thing still runs fine. Doesn't burn oil. Yeah, the new ones, they can have more horsepower, having twin turbo V6s or turbo 4 cylinders with fancy fuel injection systems. But I'm telling you right now, there's no way they'll last and run as good as these old ones did, because it's a simpler technology with less pressure inside the engine. We'll take a look inside and you'll see why it's a luxury sports sedan. And you can see it's got, the full carbon fiber. It's got a nice look, black and silver trim, beautiful gear shifter, and some more full carbon fiber here. They weren't joking around when they built this. It's got 401 horsepower. It's got a lot of horsepower, but it has a very interesting transmission which can do 0.1 second shifts. It has one of the smoothest shifting transmissions out there. The transmission is Toyota's first 8-speed automatic. It's not the ZF from Austria. It's an Aisin. Toyota designs and manufactures these things, and they are relatively bulletproof, smooth shifting machines. One of the reasons he bought this car was because he wanted something that could last forever. And strangely enough, this was the first F-Series they made, 2008, right? And you know how I always say, don't buy the first of anything? Well, this guy wasn't dumb. He bought it, 12, 13 years after it was new. So since it proved it was okay. Now, I wouldn't have said to buy one back in 2008, but today I'd say, hey, go right ahead. It stands the test of time. This was the first 8-speed direct shift transmission made in the world. They even made them before the Austrians did. And the guy did a lot of research before he bought this. He saw how smoothly the shift at the time. There was like one Formula One racer that was a faster shifter than this thing. And this, like I say, it's not a race car. You can go fast as you want, but it's not made as a race car. It's got 4 doors. It's a very fast sports sedan. Now, as such, of course, it's a gas hog. Now, I looked at the ratings, and it's rated highway at 24 miles a gallon. He said he probably gets 3 or 4 the way he drives. A lot of that has to do with how you drive. It does have 8 speeds, and it's got shifters so you can manually shift if you want. But let me tell you something. You can't beat the computer. The computer shifts better than human beings. Don't think you can drive faster than the computer. I tried on drag strips. You can't. The computer knows what it's doing. So if you drive like a turtle and you're going 55 miles an hour in 8th gear, you can get 24 miles a gallon. But who's buying a car like this to drive 55 miles an hour, right? But the owner one time did take it to a race course. He had it doing 150. He said there was still more left. So it can go fast if you want to. You're not going to be drag racing Maseratis and Ferraris. It's not made for that. It's made for speed and luxury and longevity. Doesn't burn oil, still runs like a top. That's the kind of car you want if you're looking for something to have fun, but at the same time, let it last a long time. Now, granted, it's an F-Series, and yeah, parts are sort of expensive, but they don't break down very often. Now, he's owned it over a year, and you know what he's done to it? Nothing, really. He's changed the oil and filter, right? He did change tires because he wanted better tires for the speed, and that's something I'm going to warn you about. If you're going to buy a car like this, you have to get real high speed rated tires if you're going to drive it fast, because you need the traction at that speed. The faster you go, the better tires you have to have. And if you don't understand how cars work, listen to this, because it's a big deal. If you're really going to go fast, warm the tires up first. Don't go out on a day like today, nice brisk day, and start screaming down the road because the tires won't adhere that well because they're cold. They're not warmed up yet. That's one of the reasons you need good tires, so they won't slip when you take off, and have good traction, and have strong sidewalls that can take the speed. So don't skimp on tires if you're going to buy a car like this and plan on driving fast. That's just part of the game. You want to drive one of these, you buy good tires. And that's another reason I see this more as a sports car, because it's classic. V8 engine, 8-speed tranny, and rear-wheel drive. People that know how to drive will like these cars. The people that don't know how to drive, yeah, get yourself an all-wheel drive vehicle with all kinds of traction control and safety devices on them, right? But this is a driver's car. If you want to drive serious sports sedan, this is probably the best one in the world as far as I'm concerned, for the money and for what you get if you do like he did and buy the thing used. Because I don't care what anybody says, they're all too expensive when they're new. Let somebody take the initial hit. The quality is in the car, and he's actually the third owner. A Canadian owned it, and then an Air Force guy owned it in Virginia, and then he bought it and brought it to Massachusetts. So here we go with the fancy auto scanner, and we'll plug it in. Put the idiot lights on, turn the ignition switch on. There they are, they're shining out. It's already detected it, and as you can see, it's a Lexus IS F, North America, 2008. Nice comfortable sliding one, and then it flips back in the back. 16 years old, the leather's still in excellent shape, front and back. Fancy sunroof, full topology scan, so here we go. It's older, so it's got a CD player in it. And like I say, these transmissions are cool because they shift fine by themselves to Toyota's 8-speed, but you can manually shift them if you want to. See, it's got paddle shifters up and down. They're complex vehicles. There's a lot of computer data being shared on these bus lines. It is now done. And there happens to be 19 codes. A lot of them aren't going to mean much. We'll start with a more serious one, which is the ECM. It has one ECM code. Code's pending, oxygen sensor, low voltage, bank 1, sensor 2. Now we're going to erase all the codes, see if any of them come back. So right now here, there's a bunch of codes on the gateway. That's a controller for all kinds of electronics, so let's see what they are. A whole bunch of them, they're all history codes. Smart key problem, right seat communication stop, door system communication, power seat communication. These are all historical codes. Left side junction. Now I'm assuming that most of these were codes from the previous owner, and no one ever bothered to erase them when they fixed the problems that it had, because I could tell by the overspray in the front, this thing had been in a small wreck in the front in the past. So we're going to erase all of these. When guys work on these cars, they fix stuff, but then they never reset them. Some of the codes are tire pressure monitoring systems, and they never last over time because the batteries always go bad in them. Let's just see what they say. Transmitter 1 and 4 aren't received, so those batteries are dead or something, but I mean, hey, tire pressure gauges are cheap. Don't really expect these things to last when they get as old as this is. The batteries just go bad, and then sometimes people don't program it right, so that you're not going to worry about. The S system has a code too. It claims the stoplight switch circuit is open, and there's low or high power supply, but on the brakes, the owner said they're on, so he had a taillight brake, so he put the taillights from an IS-250, a different car. And there's no way the computer is going to talk right with different circuitry. So they work. Who cares? Comes the adaptive front lighting code. We'll see what that says. Right headlamp swivel motor. Strangely enough, they turn when you turn the car. So again, I know it's been hit in the front at least. That's obvious from the overspray, so that could be something in the wiring, but they work like they're supposed to. And if they didn't, they cost so much money, most people say, it's okay if they just go straight, as long as I can see. Well, the data's good, it's running almost perfect, 99% efficiency. You can't really argue with that. And we'll look for some more data here. Remember, black's good, red's bad. The airflow sensor's working good. As 5-liter engine. It's about 5 grams a second. The air-fuel ratio sensors, both the bank 1 and the bank 2, they're almost perfect. 0 is perfect. Minus 0.003, minus 0.002, minus 0.001. Pretty close to perfect. And that's with 165,422 miles on it. Even shows you the oil temperature automatic transmission. In Celsius, I can change it to Fahrenheit, but I like using metric stuff for analysis. Look at all that data. No misfires all the way up, 000. So let's take it for a spin. Now I put in sport mode, you can see, even though it's old, it's got a backup camera. Not the greatest backup camera. I mean, it's a little bit dull. I'd like it a little brighter, but hey, you can see. I only made 5,000 of these things, and they sold them all. People like these F, smooth, power. We'll see how it goes when we get on the highway. No, I'm pretty sure it's the original strut's still on it because they're really well made. And these are the worst roads in the world, so I'd say it's probably true. It's a great handling car, but being a sporty car, you're going to feel some bumps. And these are being 165,000 miles. You could put smoother ride in, but if it handles good on the road, who cares? And we'll give it some gas. Whee! Hey, this baby gets up and goes. We're sliding sideways. I just got to get used to all that power. I'm used to 138 horsepower in the Matrix. This has got almost 4 times that. So there's no arguing. You don't need a turbocharger. You don't need a supercharger. If they can spin like that. Now you might say, why did it spin like that? Well, as you can see, the traction control is inoperative. So it's more fun to drive them that way anyway. I don't care. Head back to hill, that was fun. Now you might think, how practical is this car? Well, his everyday driver is a 2007 Honda Civic that's closing in on 300,000 miles and still runs like a clock. So that's his gas mileage car, and this is his fun car, and he has a lot of fun with it. See if any of the codes came back. Well, the only code that came back were the gateway ones, and that's probably because when the front was done, they didn't fix the wiring and everything on it. Everything he has works that he cares about, other than the traction control lights on, because the traction control system, which is part of the warning system in the front, just probably from being in a minor wreck, doesn't work anymore. So what do I think of it? It is a great, fun second car. He can do his boring driving in his old Honda Civic, and then he can take this stuff on the weekend and have a whole bunch of fun. These things last. You can see what immaculate shape this thing's in. Sure, some of the electronic stuff's going to get a little squirrely from somebody at one point in time hitting the front and not fixing all the electronics, but it's a solid car. You can see the power that it had. And in this case, since the traction control doesn't work anymore, you better know how to drive like I do, or you're going to wrap it around a pole. So always keep that in mind. A rear-wheel drive sports car, hey, you better know how to drive it if the traction control doesn't work anymore, or you're going to have to drive like the little old lady from Pasadena. This thing has an awful lot of power, even though it's old, doesn't burn oil. Hey, what's not to like for a fun car for knocking around in? Like he said, he never wants to get rid of it because he could never replace it with anything. A bunch of them probably did wrap themselves around trees or rusted out if they're up where there's a lot of salt. This one, hey, it's in immaculate shape. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.